This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games!
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby! We ain't done yet! We ain't done yet! You like that? You like that? I like that!
How's it going, Ruckus and The Menace Sports fam? You are watching and listening to episode number 108 of the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. And I'm Spence the Menace.
And I'm always, Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And we're getting our introductions backwards. But on this episode, we have continuation of some announcements for you about content ahead, probably mostly your regularly scheduled programming. Our Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A double dose of high heat as we start to wrap up the trade deadline, as we then will talk about what we feel the Central needed to be doing. And the Olympics, as we catch some of the major highlights there. Color commentary where some of the trades that have already happened will be graded. And then we close out with our stud and dud of the episode. And I think we've got kind of a very interesting pace for what we've got today, for what we've got this week, just simply because it's quite action-packed with the Olympics and everything else, and this is our first week of Olympic coverage, and we're actually going to be having a lot of double high heats over the next few weeks due to number one, the Olympics going on, which is important, and then number two, our NFL previews. Because we will be going straight into that. We'll be going straight into that next week, as we will talk about one of the other divisions. Probably one that is not relevant to us. Likely either going to be the North or the South in talking about those branches of teams. But that is definitely going to be on the docket for the next 4 weeks of the next 2 more weeks of double high heats as far as the Olympics and NFL previews, but our high heats over the next 4 will be NFL preview. And then we will kind of have a little bit of a lead-in on Labor Day.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And some other content-related announcements. March to October's Season 2 for the Spence edition of The Guardians and my second season. Those will continue on Thursdays until the week of Madden videos release. The last video for March to October will be on Labor Day, so that we exclusively can have the opening day of regular season be slated entirely for the release of the beginning of our Super Bowl roads on September 5th. Filming and uploading for Dynasty Mode and Road to Glory those projects are in progress and will be released this week for Dynasty Mode, as we will kick off the JMU portion of the Dynasty Mode, as I will be going as a coach from offensive coordinator at a group of 5 to a Power 5 national championship as a head coach. Road to Glory will release next Wednesday. Not this coming Wednesday, next Wednesday, August 7th. And I am still not going to tell you where I will sign. But I will tell you that the school that I did choose is in a Power 4 conference. It is a Power 4 conference school. And I'll drop another little clue next week. It is a Power 4 school, and I am a running back in this. And then
fun.
Yep, and then our Madden NFL 25 Super Bowl races officially begin September 5th, which will be the opening of the NFL regular season, where we will start with Ruckus. And then me, as Ruckus will be uploading his on Thursdays, while I will take the Friday night lights. And with that note, we didn't really put anything into the transaction log because we have a very action-packed high heat. But before we get to any of that, we can roll that beautiful tumbleweed footage, and it is the Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, so the good in sports this week. Comcast.
Take it away, Ruckus.
Comcast. Boo. But also, okay. Comcast will have Bally Sports, regional sports networks back on TV granted for an additional price on its Ultimate TV package. Okay.
I know that sounds like a boom. I know that sounded like something that you weren't really overly amused or enthused about, but
I just don't care because it's Comcast, and Comcast is, well, Comcast. Borderline crappy ISP, which ISP means Internet Service Provider for people that don't know what the hell that means. But yeah, other than that, like, good for Bally at least to get some more cash. I was hoping that they would go under and Amazon would just take over, but that's just me.
Yeah, but I don't know if I really, for certain things, feel 100% sold on Amazon taking it over. The Thursday night football games flop harder than LeBron James trying to take a charge.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was bad luck as it was maybe the matchups at the time, because the NFL is very unpredictable and there's parity, but also like there have been some pretty trash games.
Oh yeah,
put on Prime.
Well, there have been trash games that have been put on Prime, and Buck and Aikman don't get the best ones either.
I feel bad
Buck
for
and
Al
Aikman on
Michaels.
Monday nights. Yeah, I just don't want Tom Brady getting all the good ones.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like Al Michaels is like Bob Uecker on Major League with the Jack Daniels. Just sitting there sipping on it.
Well, I think Al Michaels... Do I love Al Michaels as a broadcaster generally? Yes. But I think as far as the entertainment level and the appeal right now, I think Al Michaels is so far past his premiere days that I'm shocked that he is not retired.
Yeah. Alright, what was bad this week, Spennis?
Staying in the broadcasting realm, the NBA has chosen not to re-sign with Warner Brothers Discover. This is the same people this is the parent organization for Turner Sports that has the Chuckster, Kenny the Jet, Shaq, and Elevator Ernie Johnson as your inside the NBA crew. That is one of the best NBA post-game shows in the land.
That's just terrible, Ernie. Just terrible.
Man, And it's left Sir Charles to kind of mull future of broadcasting post TNT. Fortunately, you have one more year of this, but it's sad because we know how much of a mainstay that Ernie Johnson and all of them have been, and it just makes me really like Ernie, like, because they do a whole lot of fun stuff. I mean, granted, the JaVale McGee Shaqtin' a Fool thing kind of didn't help, as it caused a bit of friction there. But Shaq is solid on his analysis a good amount of the time. They can talk a whole bunch about bunch of healthy stuff. It's like I watched back their whole thing talking about Giannis and his comments after a reporter asked the question of, is this season a failure? And Giannis's take on, there are no failures in sports. And I 100% love the dialogue and healthy dialogue between the four of them. And it really is a positive thing and 100% a mainstay of the National Basketball Association community. And for it to go, it would be a crying shame.
Definitely be a very sad time. But at the end of the day, things can change. Maybe the networks decide to do a little bit of reconsidering and then later get a deal done. Yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits and stuff going around, but that happens all the time with big companies. Like Apple and Samsung did this stuff all the time back in the day with Android and iOS devices for like iPhone and Android. So,
and this is still at that point where I'm here sitting here looking like I'm Jerry Maguire saying, "Show me the money."
Hold on a second. Tua beat you to it. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, shut up. I know that as far as that, we're saying that I know that Tua turned the ball over, got paid.
Did you see the reaction thing today on ESPN? He was like doing like.
But I was.
Anyways.
I knew where we were going with that, but I'm saying at the same time, I'm talking like this Warner Brothers thing is. This is all about this is more about money for them rather than keeping a very, very signature mainstay.
All right, what was the ugly this week, Spennis?
The ugly for this week leaves me just shaking my head. Because even though the bad this week was pretty bad and has ugliness involving lawsuits, this is even uglier. Because Canada's head women's soccer coach and a staffer for their team were sent home from the Olympics after getting caught spying on New Zealand and opposing nations' practice with a drone.
Did that drone have a top and bottom, just like Canadians have for their heads? I ain't your buddy, guy, buddy. Nothing? Okay.
This just also goes to show that even though you try to pull the Bill Belichick and you think you're not going to get caught, you are not without excuse.
I mean, sorry buddy doesn't cut it, right?
Yeah, it's like that improvised portion in Avengers where Robert Downey Jr. just looks and says, that guy's playing Galaga. That man's playing Galaga. Didn't think we noticed, but we did. So it's like, yeah, they got caught spying on a practice with a drone. It's like, this guy's flying a drone over our practice. Didn't think we'd notice, but we did.
Yep. Alrighty. So, Do we want to do the deadline stuff, or do we want to talk about what has gone on with the trade
Well,
deadline so far?
I think we go straight into the Olympics because I think the Olympics is going to be the better segue.
All right, that sounds good
And
to
the
me.
reason, because this was an Olympic related thing. And then we've also got a trade deadline segment later for color commentary.
All right, roll it,
So-
Spennis.
All right, so the first week, or at least the first few days of the 2024 Paris Olympics have already been in. And Ruckus, my question to you is, have you gotten to watch any or enjoy any of it?
I saw the highlights for surfing and a little bit of the women's volleyball, and that was really exciting. The volleyball kind of reminded me of like that, even though has nothing to do or really related at all to volleyball, but the James Bradbury thing, where the goalie like was knocked out or whatever from hitting the ball with his head, and then the whole team was like kind of holding him up so that he would like take care of the goal or whatever. Anyways, long story short, I thought
Wait. You're saying volleyball, or was that water polo?
that was soccer. This was a meme from a long
Oh,
time
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
But anyways, the volleyball was very interesting because of just how let's just say it was very intense when it came to certain parts where like they hit it and you thought, oh, that's gonna hit the ground, or oh, that might fall in favor of the U.S. or not in the U.S. And they just kept going. Like their perseverance and also just gratitude they have towards the sport was awesome. I loved seeing Caroline Marks do her little surfing that she was doing, especially not even just the women's surfing, but like the men's too. Like just seeing them shoot through the waves like that, just like you thought, oh, they're gonna get gobbled up like a Cookie Monster eating cookies out of a cookie jar, and literally just you just see them like sneak by it, and you see a zoom, and then there was one, I forgot the dude's name, but once he zoomed through that wave, he was just like, yeah, pumping up his fist, and I was like, woohoo!
Okay, so I have watched a good amount. I've actually been able to catch a good amount of Olympic stuff. Kind of before the opening ceremonies kind of rolled along. I watched a little bit of the opening ceremonies. I also kept an eye on the men's rugby sevens, which that is a very intriguing sport in watching that. I've watched a little bit of team handball. I've watched a little bit of equestrian, some swimming, a small amount of gymnastics, the USA basketball game, the first men's basketball game. Watched a little bit of archery. So I've caught a little bit of like multiple sports, and just some of it being whip around, some of it. And I also watched the men's skateboarding final, and that was highly entertaining as well. And I will mention a little bit more of that as we go along.
Wait, they're already pretty much done with that? Damn.
Street final.
Oh.
It was street. You've got Park here, I think, sometime next week. You've got Park there soon. You've got breakdancing coming up there at the end. Gymnastics is still rolling along. Swimming is going to be kind of throughout. I think track and field's going to take up a little bit more of the middle of the Olympics. But the U.S. has just played their first basketball game, because they'll have 3 in group play. But notable American medals. Katie Ledecky gets a bronze in the women's 400 freestyle. Tori Husk and Gretchen Walsh finished gold and silver in the 100 meter butterfly. The Americans and men The men won gold and the women won silver in the 4x1 100 meter freestyle relay for swim. Nigel Houston and Jagger Eaton won silver and bronze. Eaton won silver. Houston won bronze in men's street skateboarding. Notable medals for players outside the U.S. Koko Yoshizawa, a 14-year-old from Japan, won the gold medal in women's street skateboarding. Yugo Horigome defended his Tokyo crown because he was the gold medalist from Tokyo. He won the men's street skateboarding thing on his last trick that scored over 97 points. Jagger Eaton was a tenth of a point away from tying. Leon Marchand of France won gold in the men's 400 freestyle. And France also won gold in the rugby sevens. Medal counts at this point. The U.S. with 8 silvers and 9 bronzes leads the total medal count of everybody with 20 medals. France is in second with 16, including 5 gold and 8 silver. Japan is in third with 12 medals, half of those, with 6, being gold medals. And we are still... And this is only about 5 days really about almost a weekend. Mm-hmm. And this is all as of July 29th, as of today. Or through today, I should say.
Yeah.
And now that we've got it there, we now can talk about the MLB trade deadline and talking about the AL and NL Central. We'll have some deals we'll talk about some deals that have already gone along later. We've kind of seen some moves already happen because we kind of didn't start this back far enough. But we now can go into the AL and NL Central. And we are going to start in the AL talking about their leaders of that division, the Cleveland Guardians.
Alright, so pretty much my notes for the Guardians are to bolster your rotation and bullpen with a sprinkle of offensive help. And we'll talk about the offensive help later in the episode. What do you have, Spennis?
I don't do too much. You have enough top prospects in the farm system that if you can find a way to eventually have some of them get called up, great. You've pretty much mastered the art of preventing yourself from being in a fire sale. So, there you have it. Fire sale has averted Cleveland multiple times. And now they're at a point where they could start trying to push again for the playoffs and possibly even a deep run. So don't do too much, but look for maybe like some solid maybe like a potential upgrade that you see here and there. To Ruckus's Kansas City Royals.
Yes, sir. Born and raised. Alright, so for my notes on them. Be a buyer, but for the right price. That it doesn't matter if it's offensive or pitching. Obviously, we just had Hunter Harvey and Schreiber go down a little bit. I don't know the extent of Harvey's injury, but it sounds like he's more of a day-to-day, and then Schreiber's probably going to be a 15-dayer. We'll see. We just traded for somebody, which we'll get into in the next segment, but Spennis, what do you have?
I have remained savvy for deals that can work well, nothing big, and keep momentum rolling.
Alright, Minnesota Twins time. I put, in my snarky remark, they're going to lose in the division series, so it doesn't really matter.
I basically, for the Twins, I just said fill gaps and remain competitive.
That was so savage, me too, just be like, oh, well, they're going to lose anyways, who cares?
I just said fill the gaps where you can, remain competitive, because you're right there in the hunt, so you kind of cover your bases.
Yep, and then for the Tigers, I put get some good prospects for your key pieces like Flaherty, possibly Skubal. They decide to trade him. Maybe
The Tigers are. I don't think the Tigers are necessarily in a position to fire sale.
we'll have to see. But Spence, what do you have?
If you feel like you can really challenge for the wild card, buy reasonably. Otherwise, just hold on and look to build for next season. You've got yourself in a great position that you're probably going to win about 70, maybe 80 games. Maybe 80 if you catch a few good breaks and get streaky. So I think they probably won't be too deep in the playoff hunt, but I think they've got good pieces to build on. I think they probably look a little bit more to free agency to try and build on.
Yep.
And last but not least for the AL Central, the Chicago White Sox.
White Sox fans, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do it. Drink your sorrows and don't get your socks too bloody, because they still gotta stay bright white. I don't know what to say about the White Sox. They're kind of in limbo right now.
You have heard me say this about the Miami Marlins. One of the other teams that we probably talked about last week that I think that I did not use this phrase with, but they definitely did. I have the phrase here called brace for fire sale. This team is definitely one that will probably be looking to sell everything. Sell the farm, not really sell the farm. That's more of a buyer's tactic. But sell the top guys, get prospects, build off, and really look to start the whole process over.
All right, the Milwaukee Brewers, part of the first NL Central team we are analyzing. I'm gonna put sell what you can, to be honest.
As a division leader? As a division leader.
I just don't see them getting very far in the playoffs with the talent they have. As very controversial as that is to say, you have Yelich, who is supposedly going to have back surgery at some point nearly either at the end of this season or whenever they need him to take the surgery.
It baffles me that you have called for a division leader, a team that potentially has a good chance of making the playoffs from that spot, unless the competition really somehow finds its way to open up a little bit more in the NL Central. You have called for the team that is currently at the top of the division and potentially going to be playing some October baseball to fire sale?
I didn't. Well,
sell what you can is definitely. Well, sell what you can. That's putting them as sellers in the market, which potentially, if you're really wanting them to kind of sell for that, you're calling for fire sale. No,
not necessarily.
Yeah, but you're calling for them to sell. You're more so wanting to be looking at that for them trying to be buyers. I have them as hold but buy wisely.
See what the because even does, but I think the
Brewers are not going to be a deep run. They're not going to be a deep run in the playoffs because the talent's not quite there. Because the talent level's not quite there. But you've got at least a core you can work with and eventually start to develop and put them and eventually win some more games. It's not like that core is getting to the point where you got to just sell it all. You've got a cow there. You don't necessarily need to try and trade it away for some magic beans.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Alright, the St. Louis Cardinals. They just need to keep adding to the rotation and bullpen because their hitting has been hit or miss, but they just got someone which we'll talk about here in a little bit. but their rotation has been kind of abysmal. Giovanni Gallegos just got DFA'd, and they've just been kind of hit or miss on their bullpen. It's not been great.
I just simply have build as you need, buy as you need, prepare to contend. Because I think the Cardinals are right now in that position where they're just going to try and continue to play some good ball. I mean, they just sold away. They sold away somebody who we'll talk about here later, but which was a odd decision if you really want to kind of consider it that way. But I think preparing to contend is probably going to be the three most important words for the Cardinals because they're right there on the cusp of the wild card race.
Yep. And now on to the Pirates. I put focus on the future, and if a deal is there, take it. But because the way they're going right now, not the greatest.
You say that, but I'm also going to say compared to where they were, and where they have the potential to go, especially with Paul Skeens there, I think the potential right now for the Pirates is actually trending at a net of upward. So yes, I do say focus on the future. Strike if a good deal comes your way that can benefit the team and still not mortgage a bit of what the future can hold for the Pirates. You're not selling away Paul Skeens, he's untouchable. You're not selling away Ke'Bryan Hayes. You're not selling away any of the vital players that you have that are playing well for you. Just continue to lay the foundation of potential future success brick by brick, win by win. I think the Pirates can very well do that, and they may even be more competitive than we think for the wild card at this rate. For a wild card spot at this rate. The Cincinnati Reds.
I'm gonna say keep building more and more because you've got the pieces for the most part with Ellie De La Cruz. You had Matt McLean before he went down with an injury. You have Hunter Green still, and you've got some other pieces, but just keep building off of that. That's all I had to say about the Reds. They just got another person, which we'll talk about later. Damn it! I want to get straight to it, but we got one more.
They're kind of in a good point of saying, yeah, more so build what you have. It's like you have the pieces. Now you just kind of need to shape, because you know how with certain things with puzzles, like you have to kind of like find where the pieces will come together properly to shape the very image in a puzzle that you have.
Yeah.
You have the pieces, you just now need to figure out how to make them connect. And then if you need to, free agency can be there for the Reds to eventually go inside the box, find some more pieces and see how those pieces can click. Don't need to make a big splash, but do enough. Do enough in trying to build for the future that you got ahead. And last but not least, the Chicago Cubs.
Keep on building. You got some good pieces. You just got some people. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But Spanis, what do you got?
I have, if you can compete solidly and get even deeper into that wild card race and get a little streaky and do that, hold. Otherwise, I think the Cubs could be in the potential to sell again. Otherwise, I think the potential for the Cubs selling may be even more something that is needed.
Well, you still have Cody Bellinger over there. But anyways, I
Yeah,
will go ahead.
that may even be a selling point that they didn't even realize for the future.
Yep. All right, I will go over the current trades that have happened as
And we
of
are
today.
going to, in the color commentary, grade the trade.
All right. So for the first one, we have Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees.
Did the Yankees really need a second baseman? No. Did the Yankees need a person who potentially could be an outfielder?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Why?
Because Stanton is not an outfielder for shit at all. You
He's a
got
he's a designated hitter, and you have Judge and Soto on the. You have Judge Soto. You have Judge Soto, and you've got a bunch of potential options.
yeah,
Like
but here's the thing though. Gleyber Torres has been hit or miss when it comes to defensive and offensive. You've got Oswaldo Cabrera, who's been kind of meh. You got Volpe, who's also been kind of meh. You gotta like shake it up a little bit. Birdie
yeah, they
was there for a little bit, but now Jazz is there, and I think Jazz can help. And you need someone that can field the ball better than Grisham and Verdugo and all of them. Yes, was it a bad? It was kind of like a confusing head scratcher. Yes, but I think it could help the Yankees.
So, where do you set the grade for that deal?
B minus.
I actually, in terms of net on this deal, I am going to give it a C plus. I believe it is a C plus because Jazz Chisholm, they have him currently listed as a third baseman. He is too small to be a third baseman in terms of weight.
They were asking
I
him to
think,
be if he wanted to play third, but he played center field in his debut.
yeah, I mean, he's got speed. He's got speed. Don't get me wrong. And I think that his speed will help in the outfield. But Jazz Chisholm, I think, is a utility piece, a decent bat, but not an overly he's not really a he gets on base type of guy. I mean, granted, I'm very anti-Yankees anyway, but Jazz Chisholm is not necessarily that he gets on base type of guy that you kind of want to have. He's kind of somebody who will want to try and hit a dinger and Euro step his way to the plate. But I just don't fully feel like he is going to be the savior of where the Yankees could potentially skid and fall. But he's a decent depth piece. It's not quite a B, but it's not quite like truly a C minus type of ordeal. So that's why I'm in the C plus range.
All right, so the next one, Tommy Edman and Michael Kopech to the Dodgers in a 3-team deal between the Cardinals, White Sox, and Dodgers. I think that's for me, that grade of a trade would be a B at the very best.
Well,
Here's the thing: you got backup for Betts, you got a backup for Gavin Lux. Edmund can play all over the field for the most part, outfield and infield. Michael Kopech, he is a depth piece for your bullpen and or your starting pitching, which you've had some injury troubles with Glasnow. You've had some other injury troubles with other Dodger players, and also had just the newest issue of James Paxton being traded to the Red Sox. So it's like what else could you have gotten for a semi decent deal like that?
Trying to find where Tommy Edman ended up as far as positionally, because
He's
I don't
either
think.
second base or outfield or shortstop.
Yeah, but his name is not on the Dodgers list currently. Why do I think he ended up going in the other end of that deal? No, because he's not on the White Sox list. Who was the other? Who's the other part of that deal?
He's on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
If you go to the Cardinals thing, that might show you because this was just new today. Maybe the website didn't have enough time to update it for the
Yeah. But
Dodgers.
I think that Edman, he provides another sense of super utility for the Dodgers. You've got Mookie Betts who can play outfield, second base, shortstop. You've got Edman who can play second, outfield. You've got Gavin Lux who can play the corner outfielder, second base. So you've almost got a different lineup that can kind of spell for a lot of things. I think that it gives the Dodgers an extra sense of versatility and being able to adjust for players who need days off. So yeah, I am in the business of saying that at least for Edman and Kopech to go to the Dodgers, I'm at a B minus. I'm at B minus as well.
One, Tommy Pham goes back to the Cardinals, and Eric Fetty joins him. I think this is kind of a C minus here because Pham is coming back from a trash, terrible team in the White Sox. Eric Fetty might be a sleeper pick on this one, but I don't have enough information on Eric Fetty to really say whether or not he is a good or terrible player. But I do know that Pham still has a little bit in the tank, but we'll just have to see how he plays again for the Cardinals.
This deal for this end of it is mid. And what's kind of the grade that's going to be sitting there right in the middle? C. This is truly just a straight C. Nothing special is going to come out of this deal. Tommy Pham is washed up as far as age would go for... Granted that baseball is full of longevity anyway, but as far as being an outfielder, Tommy Pham's washed. And then Fetty may be okay. I think Fetty's going to ultimately be the person who probably salvages this deal.
Yeah.
The next one, Ty France goes to the Reds as the Mariners designated him for assignment earlier this week. How do you feel about Ty France? You feel about Ty France going to Cincinnati?
Honestly, don't care, to be honest. I'm gonna give this one a D for degrees. The Reds got a decent player, but they got him for practically nothing. Because he is not worth anything right now to the Mariners.
You're kidding me.
Why would the Mariners designate him for assignment if he was actually good at playing baseball?
Not playing well? It is a little... Not playing well and not playing at all are two completely different things. So, Ty
Well,
France,
Ty France can
he's
prove me wrong
hitting.
with the Reds. That's all I'm gonna
He's
say.
hitting. His numbers are definitely down for this season so far. He has hit. He's hitting 223 with 8 home runs and 31 RBIs. But on top of that, Ty France is just. He's been a main. He had been a mainstay last year. Ty France, he's not a home run hitter. He's not a home run hitter. They don't necessarily put him in great positions to be an RBI machine. He was just an all-star in 2022. So here's where I think Ty France does something a little different. He secures the first base position for the Reds after the Reds ultimately let Joey Votto walk.
Okay.
This is where the health of adding a first baseman can give the Reds an extra sense of a little bit more security instead of somebody having to play a secondary position. So this deal may not be as bad as what you think it is. I am probably going to reserve myself the opportunity of it being a B minus, or at least it has the potential to be that way. But I am going to be tweening between that and a C plus. I'm probably going to give it a C plus just to be on the safe side. But it does give the Reds an extra sense of security at first base.
All right, and then Michael Renton is traded to the Royals for rookie Walter Pentington, a left-handed reliever that pitched against the Colorado Rockies about a month ago, or what feels like a month ago. Lorenzen last year had a no-hitter with the Phillies, I believe. And he's also a two-way player. He can pitch and he can also hit. But I think he's mostly focused on pitching anyways. He's not gonna tear the cover off the ball like Shohei does. I think this trade is probably a C plus because of the fact that I think this either bolsters the relief pitching for the Royals or adds a rotational thing. People are saying that Alec Marsh could be put up to the bullpen for this guy to start, but I think Lorenzen, in all honesty, becomes that guy that, like, if the starting pitching needs an extra day to cool down, maybe you give Lorenzen the start with like a bullpen kind of day,
Like
where it's
as an opener.
yeah, but I don't know because he's also pretty damn good as a bullpen guy. Like I don't see a disadvantage to this. Obviously, pitchers are gonna get dingers hit off of him every once in a while, but I think Lorenzen's still got what it takes. That's why I'm doing a C plus. I'm not overly confident, but I'm confident enough to where I think he'll be okay.
I'm gonna put this kind of straight down Broadway here. Not an A, not a B, but a C. It is truly just a middle of the road deal. Nothing too big, nothing too small. It is kind of that straight C, not quite a steal, not quite like pulling a highway robbery on a trade deal. Just a straight C.
All right, and then Isaac Paredes for Christopher Morel. Paredes goes to the Chicago Cubs, and Morel goes to the Tampa Bay Rays. Honestly, I honestly didn't see Paredes going anywhere because I feel like he's a little bit younger than most of the other guys that the Rays have traded so far. Uh, for it might have because Christopher Morel's also not been in the league for too long, so maybe it was a okay. Let's give you this guy because his trade stock is good, and we'll get Morel, and we'll just see what happens.
The Rays have basically put a Falcon punch into the glass and pounded the alarm. Because this is the first deal in a Rays fire sale. And I'm going to say for this deal, I think it's going to benefit the Cubs a little more than it will the Rays. So I'm going to say for the Rays, I think this is truly like a C, C minus. But it goes more toward a B minus for the Cubs.
I think it's more of a C plus for the Cubs. They also recently traded for Christian Bethencourt, which I did not put in there because I didn't know how recent that was. But he is now a Cub. And then as far as the Rays go with the more trades, Jason Adam goes to the Padres. And there are rumors that Snellzilla, aka Blake Snell, could possibly return as a Padre as well as him.
There have been rumors of Snell going to multiple places, which I've even seen stuff saying that the Yankees were targeting him.
Yeah, we'll
so I'm gonna say this is another one that I'm gonna say C.
I think for Adam going to the Padres, it adds a lot of bullpen depth that you didn't have before.
This is true.
So I'm gonna say that's a B for me.
Yep.
Randy Arozarena, another former Tampa Bay Ray, and Justin Turner going to the Mariners. Justin Turner was a Toronto Blue Jay that is now currently a Seattle Mariner. They will help the offense and a little bit of defense as Julio Rodriguez is on the IL, and they just got rid of Ty France, so Turner can play the first base. Randy Arozarena will more than likely either play left, center, or who knows. I have a feeling
Most
it's probably
likely
gonna be
left
center.
field. I was gonna say left, but
I think the Mariners so far have done themselves wonders, but I'm not gonna go full on into the A for effort realm. I'm gonna go for B plus because of the Justin Turner addition as well. Because if it was just a Rosarena, I probably would have done an A. But Turner is aging somewhat like fine wine, but it's like the Kirkland brand of wine.
okay. So for Justin Turner, I do probably go toward a C plus. But in getting Randy Arozarena, for Randy Arozarena, the Mariners get an A minus. That is an athletic hustle outfielder that you just got to cover for the injury of an athletic hustle outfielder that you'll have two of them there that can platoon it and cover the majority of your outfield well. The Arozarena portion of this, yes, is truly an A minus. But the Justin Turner side is probably going to be about a C to a C plus.
And then for the Mets, yes, the Mets actually did a thing. They acquire Ryan Stanek from the Mariners, and I don't know
Jesse Winker from the Nationals.
Yep, and also Jesse Winker from the Nationals. They are both Mets. I don't know what this means for Winker in his production, but maybe he hits a few line drives. But I don't see much of this much good happening out of these two trades, but I will grade it a C minus because both players are kind of mid and both getting older as they go along. Winker
Yeah.
especially, he was on his last leg near the time that he was, I believe, with the Mariners. Like whenever he had that meltdown over in Los Angeles.
I'm going to say the New York Mets have tried to shove their way into being all in and chasing the playoffs. But I think they're going all in on a hand that is probably like middle of the road at best. See?
All right. And then for the next one, we have the Baltimore Orioles, which I also forgot to add this little snippet here, but
Austin
never mind.
Hayes to the
Actually,
Phillies.
I did. So Austin Hayes to the Phillies, but Zach Eflin and Seranthony Dominguez go to the Orioles, and so far that has panned out pretty well for the Orioles. As Eflin pitched a hell of a game, doing 6 innings and I think 6 or 7 strikeouts. He did really well. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez got a save and hold for me last week, and he's been kind of like a sleeper pick for relief pitching, and he's done well so far. And then the Phillies get the Angels closer Estevez, while also grabbing Austin Hayes, and I believe that's for outfield depth or maybe a designated hitter role, since the outfield is kind of not the greatest.
It's probably going to be outfield depth because Schwarber likely will move to the designated hitter slot.
That's if he plays again this season, but I like the move for Austin Hayes. It was a little surprising, but it is what it is. What also was really surprising was the upgrade to the Red Sox catching depth, as they got rid of Reese McGuire, and they still have Connor Wong there, but they upgrade big by trading for Danny Jansen, which is an inner division opponent of the Blue Jays. But still, what a upgrade for the Red Sox there. I'm gonna give them. Um, I'm gonna. I'm conflicted, but I'm gonna give them a B plus because they did good, but Danny Jansen's not like lights out enough to be like an A or an A minus, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. So Eflin and Dominguez, for me, I'm just going to give them a straight B. I'm going to give that a straight B. The Phillies getting Estevez and Hayes is a B minus. And Danny Jansen to the Red Sox, I think, is ultimately a C plus. He's not. Connor Wong is still probably the top guy right now for our catchers, but Danny Jansen will make it a very competitive and very close second on the depth chart. He'll probably be the number 2 catcher for us, and probably catch whenever Connor Wong has a day off.
Yeah.
So I think it's good enough that it's bolstering a little bit of depth there. But did we really need it at catcher? Is the question that I think is kind of holding my potential in that deal down.
Yeah. Also, speaking of catchers, the Rangers traded for Carson Kelly from the Tigers to bolster a little bit of their catching, even though they probably didn't need it either. But Jonah Hines been kind of hit or miss, and they don't have Mitch Garver anymore, so they had to at least get another catcher in there just in case.
Just another depth piece for when Jonah Hines comes back. C plus.
Yeah. And for Eflin Dominguez, I also agree with the B minus.
Yep. And now we're getting to near the end of the episode, and we are now to our stud and dud of the week.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yep, go for it.
All right, so my stud for this week is Snoop Dogg and his Olympics with the opening ceremony, and then his he had an interview with Mike Tirico, and then he was also a co-star with Kevin Hart on, I believe it was the highlights for Peacock. The one with Mike Tirico is when Mike Tirico asks him how it felt to be outside in Paris for the opening ceremony, and Snoop said he felt like Muhammad Ali over there.
Carrying the torch, yeah.
And also, if you haven't seen it yet, the Kevin Hart with Snoop Dogg, where they're looking at highlights from the Olympics with the horse racing or whatever they're doing. That was hilarious. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's that. For my dud, I'm gonna say this was yesterday, so Sunday. The Cubs fan interferes with the home run ball that was hit by a Royals catcher, Freddie Fermin. It was going to be hit to the foul pole, but the fan caught it before it got there. That's what I got there. Go ahead, Spanish.
Yep. My stud this week goes to the South Sudan men's basketball team in the Olympics for winning their first Olympic basketball game in their debut in spite of the wrong national anthem playing for them that was cut after 20 seconds in. The main reason why this is important, this nation had emerged from civil war to become an independent nation in 2011. So they probably played like the standard Sudanese national anthem, screwed it up, and South Sudan had something completely different. But at the same time, South Sudan picked up a win over Puerto Rico. And they will play the United States on Wednesday. So I don't expect them to get any of the next two wins, but the fact that they got the first one under their belt is very noteworthy and praiseworthy. My dud this week goes to the NFL itself for requiring head coaches to be interviewed at one point during the game. Each coach will have a half or have a portion of a half that they will deal with a live interview. This, to me, unless the head coach does a really good job of delegating things to the coordinator for certain tasks and nature-related things, while the coach is in the middle of this interview, more power to them. A lot of insight goes along with this, and though that is exciting to see, the head coach has a task at hand. You still will be able to talk to them at halftime. You still will be able to talk to them leading into the second half. You still will be able to talk to them post-game. Why do you have to do one right in the middle of like the first quarter?
These head coaches when it comes to like the
the safety of the reporter too. The safety of the reporter too. On top of that, Are
they literally going to be? Is the reporter literally going to be on the field trying to shove a mic into the dude's face, or is it going to be kind of like how they mic up on Sunday Night Baseball or whatever whenever they do the interview with the player? Because that's what I was picturing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do a pull to the side with a sideline report. But at the same time, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how this is going to work. We don't know kind of the methodology for it, but for this requirement, unless it is something that the coach is going to be required to have, but then you leave the room for the coach to eventually get distracted by something with a player as well. It just, to me, is it nice to have? Yes. Is it necessarily going to be the best way to kind of bring what a fan wants? such like that in the safest manner possible.
No.
Meh, not the best.
I
Not the best. I think the NFL has got to eventually figure out some way to, if they want to do this, they got to make sure they have this thing shaped for it to be foolproof for injuries and also potential interruptions that a head coach may have.
My main issue with it is when it gets really, really intense during like the end part of the game. I think they axe the whole interview thing with that, because not only would that be like really tough on the coach to deal with that, but also deal with the task at hand of being a damn coach. It just sucks.
Oh yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on that for a second.
I didn't say I was disagreeing. I was just saying, like, in general, like that would really suck. But also,
yeah, that's why I was saying I wasn't disagreeing with you.
My point also is, so in the MLB, it feels like it's almost natural to have interviews with the coaches or players during a game because it's more slowly paced, and granted,
you don't have a time limit either.
Yeah, so like it's more chill and relaxed because that's just how the game was and is. Whereas with football, it's more like cutthroat and every second counts. And if the signal or whatever from a teammate doesn't go in properly because the coach was distracted, like that could be a problem.
Or even a coach needing to lobby anything about a potential penalty or seeing something that needs to be challenged and throwing a red flag. Let the coach focus. You still get your media time. You still get your media time with the coach anyway.
I think if anything, they test it out in the preseason and see what happens, but I think they're probably going to try and mainstream it and then either piss off half their audience in the NFL or just in general just piss people off. Changes like this definitely will ruffle some feathers.
I am waiting for the moment that some major challenge is going that potentially would have been done by a head coach normally gets missed. The opportunity gets missed because the head coach is in the middle of a sideline interview. I am waiting for that. Why? Because this will show that this was not the best method. Simple as that. Ruckus, take us out.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, the best sports podcast in the land. I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus and The Menace.
And this was episode 108. We'll see you guys later. This is a Ruckus and The Menace Sports production. All rights reserved. Anyways, see you later.
Cheers.